Hi everyone, welcome back. You're watching The Money Show on ET Now. There's going to be a change in the next time that you will go to renew your motor insurance policy. You'll probably end up paying less, but that's only because the own damage policies now are going to be for 1 year as opposed to 3 years, whereas third-party policy contracts will remain for 3 years. So even if you'll go to buy a new car, from now onwards, you will not have to pay a very high insurance component. Let's bring on board Parthanil Ghosh, the president of the motor business with HDFC Ergo General Insurance. Mr. Ghosh, thank you for joining us today on The Money Show. Let's start off first by, you briefly explaining what these new motor insurance norms are that kick in from the 1st of August. What does it mean, for policyholders, new and existing?
Let me go back to 2018. So in 2018, the Supreme Court had passed an order to allow consumers to buy a long-term third-party product for their private car and two-wheeler policies. Why Supreme Court said that? For a simple reason, because we had huge number of uninsured vehicles on the road in this country. Now, number of uninsured vehicles means that if there is a road death, the deceased person's family will not get a compensation if the death has happened through an uninsured vehicle. And it was causing a huge amount of pain to the nominees of the deceased people. So Supreme Court said that for any private cars or two-wheelers, if any new policy has to be taken for a new motor policy, they have to take it for 3 years or 5 years, depending on whether it's a private car or two-wheeler. Post that, in September 2018, and specifically with effect from 1st September 2018, IRDAI, our regulator, insurance regulator, allowed insurance companies to sell long-term policies for new private cars and new two-wheelers. So for both new two-wheelers and new private cars, the third-party component of the premium will be long-term. That means 3 years third-party premium to be paid for private car, and 5 years of third party to be paid for two-wheelers. They had given another option to say that the own damage portion of the premium, one can pay it for 1 year with 3 years of third party or 5 years of third party. They called it bundled. And they had put another option that 3 years of third party and 3 years of own damage, or 5 years of third party and 5 years of own damage in case of two-wheelers. They called it package. So a consumer had two options to do it. Now, if I go back and see that what that meant, at that point of time, almost 65% two-wheelers on the road in this country were uninsured. So we predicted in our company that if it continues for another 7 years, this 65% uninsured population of two-wheelers will come down to something around 45%. And for four-wheelers, the uninsured population was not so much. So this was a thing that was started in 2018. Now, what changes you are talking about, Mubina, you just mentioned, from 1st August, IRDAI has withdrawn the option of buying a long-term policy of both own damage and third party. That means no one can buy a 3 plus 3 years of policy for private car or 5 plus 5 years for two-wheelers. However, the long-term policy in terms of third party remains. Means anyone buying a new private car or new two-wheeler has to buy a 3 years third party policy for private car or a 5 years third party for two-wheeler, along with a 1 year own damage portion for two-wheeler and private car.
Okay, understood. What sort of a fall will we see then in an insurance cost now when we buy a four-wheeler or a two-wheeler henceforth?
So the long-term policy remains, as I mentioned to you. People buying a new vehicle has to pay a 3 years third-party premium in advance along with 1 year of own damage. Or a person buying a two-wheeler policy will have to buy a 5-year third-party premium along with a 1 year own damage. So that remains. So long-term policy remains. What you can't do, you can't buy a 3 years own damage premium in advance in case of private car or a 5 years of own damage premium in case of two-wheeler. Just one more statistics. only 20% of the new vehicle consumers were buying a 3+3 years or 5+5 years. Around 20%, that is our experience in our company. So these 20% people had a choice. You ask me that how much changes that will happen for a person who was buying 1+3 was paying 22,000 rupees less than a 3+3 person if he was buying a 5 lakh worth of vehicle, private car. Or in case of a two-wheeler, the difference was 1,500. So people had a choice. People used to buy it on their own, 20% of the people. So now they will not be buying it and they have to pay less, for which they were paying for the future years.
Okay. All right. What will be the impact of the new rule for existing customers? If you could explain that to us, for people who have the policy before 31st of July.
Whatever policies has been booked till today or are getting booked till today, 3+3 and 5+5, for the next 3 years, their own damage and third-party premiums are protected. They don't have to renew it. Or for a two-wheeler, for the next 5 years, their own damage portion and the third-party portions are anyway insured and they have nothing to worry. Their policy terms and conditions remains unchanged.
So just to clarify, features, coverage for own damage and third party remain the same. Am I right?
Exactly. Everything remains same. There has been no change.
Okay, fair enough. Now, what happens if customers have accumulated no claim bonuses? I mean, do those get transferred over to the new policy, which will obviously be then a shorter one, a 1-year one?
So if one consumer has accumulated no claim bonus in a 3+3 years policy or a 5 years policy, in whatever manner their policy terms and conditions are there today, they will remain intact. There will be no impact because of this change that is happening from 1+3. The change, once again, I am saying, is happening for prospective customers and not retrospective one. So whoever has a policy in whatever terms and conditions continues. The only thing that is changing from tomorrow, that the customers had a choice still today to buy two types of long-term policies. From tomorrow, they will have only one choice of buying a long-term policy of third party and 1 year of own damage. And I would like to assure all the consumers that their terms and conditions of their insurance policy remains intact and there is no impact because of this change that is happening from tomorrow.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Ghosh, for joining us today on ET Now and talking to us about these new policies as they stand. So yes, the next time you go to renew a policy, it'll be a shorter term 1 year own damage, 3 year third party insurance contract that you will be signing. So since it's not a 3+3, it's a 1+3, your premium cost as well will be a little lower for your motor insurance. Okay, we will take a very short break on the show, but when we return in a related topic, not just on motor insurance, we'll be talking about buying a motor car itself. Especially for those people who are skeptical on taking public transport, don't have money, second hand, is always an option. We'll be talking about that when we return.